Have you ever thought that your family could live tiny? Well, today you're going to get your very first glimpse at the slab foundation being poured for our new house on the homestead, and you might be a little bit surprised at how small we actually went. So come on, let's see it. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Cram Farms. If you're new here, my husband and I have two sets of twins. Our oldest set has cerebral palsy and are both in wheelchairs, and then we have our youngest set of twins that are full of spunk and life. We recently sold our old homestead, which was almost 9 acres. The house was 1,820 square feet upstairs, and then we had a completely full basement that was unfinished, but we used it for storage. We just recently sold our homestead with all the land and moved, and then bought our new property that we've been working on for several months now to create into our new off-grid homestead. Now, in our previous video, you saw us get our solar panels hooked up, and if you haven't seen that, I'm going to link it above here, and so that you can go back and watch that video. But we are going to be completely off-grid on our new homestead, and we have also decided to build a smaller house. Did you know that the average American house is around 2,400 square feet right now? People love finished basements and walk-in pantries, closets in the master bedroom that can sometimes be like even the size of a small child's bedroom. All that space is really important to some people, and if that's your house, that's perfectly fine. But when we decided to move to this new homestead and to go off-grid, we also decided to go, I won't say tiny, because we're not like the little tiny houses on wheels, but our house is going to be much smaller. In fact, it's going to be right around 960 square feet. And yes, all 6 of us are going to fit. But the reason we decided to go smaller was, number one, that's not going to be our permanent, our forever home. It's going to be our temporary home to get us onto the land, to get our animals over there, to get our systems in place and established. And then we'll be building a home that's a little bit larger, and that will be our forever home. But in order to get us there pretty quickly and to start getting systems established, our garden, and get our animal shelters up in our tractor shed and get our animals over there and to start using the land, we wanted to go ahead and build something a little bit smaller that we could make do with and live in. What we're building won't get wasted because it actually has another purpose later, and that is that it will turn into our outdoor kitchen where I'll like bring a lot of the food from the garden in. We can bring in our eggs and our milk from the cows and process everything in that place. I'm calling it kind of like my outdoor kitchen, but it'll also be feed storage for the animals, for like grains and things. I may even do like a homeschool room out there so that we have a spot to specifically do our homeschooling. So it's gonna have multiple purposes later, but for the first little bit, it's gonna be our house. So when we had to dig out, when the form was dug out, we had to have footers put in place. They had to be lined in foam for insulation, and when we pour the concrete, it ends up being what's called a monolithic floor. So our footers and our flooring are all one. So the concrete will end up being our actual floor in this temporary house. Now, one of the reasons is that we wanted not to have to worry with ramps and things for the kids in the wheelchairs coming in and out of the temporary house. We wanted it to be pretty much right on grade level, so not grade level like school, right on grade, so they could drive their wheelchairs straight in and we didn't have to worry with building ramps. The other reason is that later on, once this is like a canning kitchen, milk processing and things like that, I wanted to be able to clean and like spray it on the floors. When we designed it, we knew that we were gonna have to live there for a little while, and so we went ahead and we tried to do something really simple with plumbing, and we installed all of our plumbing on one wall. So we have where like our kitchen will be and the bathroom will be all on one small area, so that all of our plumbing could be run and put in beforehand. The other good thing about it being on that back wall is that there isn't a lot of space for it to travel. So if we were to have trouble, a lot of people warned us about, don't put your plumbing in the concrete, you're going to regret it if you have to work on something later. Well, there's literally like the wall, the outdoor wall, and our plumbing. So it does not have but like inches to travel to be outside the house. So our main drain line is not even under the concrete, just where just where the water lines or the drain lines go from like the shower to outside the house, toilet to outside the house, sink to outside the house. So there's not a ton of plumbing under the concrete. So that made me feel a little bit better about doing that too. Also, everyone keeps saying, where are you gonna put all of your stuff? Well, when we had 1,800 square feet upstairs and then a full basement, we had a lot of stuff. But that will explain why we sold and donated a ton of stuff before we moved. We had so much stuff piled up in our basement that we, went through, and stuff we don't need, we don't use. We got rid of a ton of stuff. We had like a thrift store that will come and pick it up for you. They came and got truckloads. Like one time they brought a truck, a Suburban, they had a trailer, and we had them come back like 2 or 3 more times. We cleaned a ton of stuff out. I sold a lot of stuff. You can do things like Facebook Marketplace, or just listing or word of mouth, or having yard sales even. We cleaned out a ton of stuff like toys and clothes and just random household things that we just don't use anymore. Life on the homestead is a little bit different than I think if we lived somewhere else. So a lot of we don't need a playroom. My kids do not need that many toys. They go outside, and they have already at the new homestead built forts in the on the land, and they are constantly outside playing something. They don't need a lot of toys inside to occupy their time. I mean, of course, we've got board games and some things for like when we have rainy days. Going to this small space should be interesting, especially with 2 wheelchairs, but I think we can do it. I'm gonna show you. You can see where they put, after the concrete is poured, they went ahead and put the anchor bolts in. So this is where Craig and I will actually build and set up our walls, and they will anchor directly to this concrete slab. And we just placed our order yesterday for our framing package. So that will go ahead and get on the way. I think it's supposed to be here next week, delivered to the homestead next week, so we can start building and setting the walls. So you'll get to see that. It's pretty exciting to see this start coming together. But leave us a comment. Let us know, what do you think about us going to 960 square feet? Do you think it's going to be tight space? Do you think we're going to love it? Which I think we're going to love it. I think that we're going to enjoy the simplicity of not having all the extra stuff, because we have plenty to keep us busy outside on the homestead. And I think it's going to be fine. There are lots of people that are very concerned that we're going that small, but we're going to be okay. Another reason we decided to go smaller at first and then start building our forever home later is because we want to be able to pay for this all in cash. And in doing that and getting here on the homestead and wanting to get established, we knew we were gonna have to start a little bit smaller at first. And that's okay with us, because we did not want to have a mortgage payment for the house we were building. We wanted to really be able to pay for it straight out. So we're going to build this, and then we'll get our systems in place. It'll give us it'll give us some time to then save, so that we can then build our forever home. So leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think about this concrete slab that we've gotten poured, and I can't wait for you to stay tuned and see us start setting the walls next weekend. Those are our reasons of why we decided to go really small. Some people might call it tiny, but I'm excited to see it all come together. I hope you're excited for the journey. I hope that you will stick around so you can watch us build this house literally from the ground up. When we start the walls next week, we've got to think about things like electrical and plumbing, and we are off grid. So what systems will we use or put in place to help not overpower that solar that we have? So we had to think about that before we even ordered the solar. How much were we going to be pulling on? You've got to think about AC and heat and your dryer, and if you have a clothes dryer and a wash machine and a refrigerator and a stove. And so stick around. We're going to show you some ways that we did all of those basic needs with air conditioning. Yes, we'll still have air conditioning. We'll still have heat. We have running water. We have a flushing toilet. We'll still have all those things, but I'm going to show you how we work those things so that we didn't use so much of the solar to power all that, which is also a reason we were able to get by with the size system we're going to use for our solar. So stick around, there's lots more to come on the new Cram Farms homestead. I hope you all will continue to follow us and come along for the ride. It is sure to be exciting. So we'll see you all next time right here at Cram Farms.